Now we are.
All right, so just a heads up today, I need to record this lesson and one more lesson as part of my certificate program, so you won't be shown, but maybe some of the audio will pick up. So today's lesson, all right. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Wolf.
All right, that was very good. How are we doing today? Let's see those thumbs. All right, mostly good, middle to good thumb. Where's your thumb? Good? Okay, good. All right. Gonna kick it off with an intro question. Then we are gonna review some composition materials. I'm gonna have you sort of, just like last class, see if you can figure out what composition I have examples of here, what rules and techniques here. And then we are going to apply these techniques. You are late, but you don't need a pass. Just go ahead and sit down. All right, but we did take attendance. So, and then we're going to go and apply those techniques. So my first intro question, you can see how this will apply to photography, but maybe just in general. Here's my intro question. If you could put away the game, please. All right, it's Tuesday. It's a 4-day week, shortened week. It's going to be a really great week. Okay, here's my intro question. Is it easier to break a rule or to follow one? Ruby, yes.
I think it's easier to break a rule than to follow one, because as any human does, you have to make a mistake and be able to learn to do something. Like anything about that, that's what makes us human, is that we have to do that. So to break a rule is to maybe have a consequence at the end, and that's why the rule is set, to follow one.
So, okay, right, maybe it's a cliche. All right, hey, Alex, can you sit over here, please? This is going to be distracting. Okay, so it's cliche, right? But we learn from our mistakes, right? So you make a mistake, that's actually easier, but then the hard part is, okay, what did I do wrong there? And then you can sort of.
Also, I just feel like us as humans are curious, so we're not going to always follow rules. We're always going to be like, okay, maybe I might want to get out this box a little bit.
Right, okay. I love that, like, right, human nature is curiosity, and I think that has a direct correspondence to photography. That's interesting. Okay, Julie.
I kind of agree with Ruby because this maybe made me remember one of the first things I was told when I was working in child care or I was a camp counselor for like 3-year-olds was that it's easier to have more rules because then you can take things away than adding in new rules. And it kind of made me think because like we have a lot of these rules in place already, so people kind of know what's going on because rules will be broken. But
Right.
then once you're able to then take things away later, and also rules are in place because people end up like doing the things we don't want them to do. So that's why the rules are made in the first place. So I think rules are made because rules are being broken.
Right, so especially like maybe in a pre-K setting, you have the same sort of expectation that kids are going to break rules. They are going to not share, they might hit each other, they might yell, right? And you have that rule in place to say, okay, here's the rule, right? Okay, yeah.
I would say it's less black and white, not in a way that like you are either breaking the rule or following it, but I think it's easier to break a rule because the guidelines for breaking one is just like pretty much you don't have to exactly follow it. Like the guidelines for following a rule is like do exactly as it says, but the guidelines for breaking a rule are a lot more general and like you can break a rule by not following it or by doing the opposite of it, and it's just a lot freer to break a rule than it is to follow it.
Right, okay, so it actually might be, if I hear what you're saying, it actually might be harder to break a rule because there's only one way to follow a rule, but there's many ways to break it. You think it's easier to break a rule?
Because of that exact thing that you just
Because
said, though.
there's so many ways you can break a rule, but there's only one way to follow it.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. I mean, I kind of hear that, and I think the opposite, that, right, because there's no one way to break a rule, it actually requires more creativity. Yes, Rex.
This is a little bit different, but I kind of think it's more difficult to break a rule well than it is to follow a rule well. Like, like in photography, for example, like if you're breaking like a rule just like set by like photography standards, I guess it's like more difficult to like make a like well done like picture or whatever. But like it like also I think it leaves room for like just more creativity and more potential for like something even like bigger and better than like what anyone's done like before.
Yeah. So, okay, this is exactly what I was getting at, right? If you're doing something creative, it's actually pretty easy to just follow a set of rules. What are some of the rules of photography? Yes?
Don't have have good exposure.
Right, so you're gonna properly expose something, right? What else?
Respect the things and people that you're taking photos of.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so
What is the-
here, okay, so here's a question. Who thinks like exposure, that you could actually have something overexposed and that's still okay? Right? Who here thinks you could disrespect the subject of your photography and that's still okay? No, good. Okay, so we think that there are actually some rules with photography that we should follow, and there's some that are okay to break. Does anybody have any other examples of like rules just in general? Yeah.
Like have your subject in focus.
Have your subject in focus. Who here thinks you could ever have your subject out of focus? When would it be okay to do that? Mika.
Like let's say you're trying to like get something that's like out there and like your subject is like in the way you can make the subject like blurry and then capture like the rest clear.
Yes, okay. If you had your subject was foregrounded and maybe it was someone like, I don't know, you would probably all be able to recognize the president even if he was out of focus, right? He might have a sort of silhouette that you're like, okay, that's the president. And so you could have him out of focus and then maybe focus on something else. That's actually a sort of picture I've seen in the New York Times. Anything else? Like any other rules that we think we can break? Even if they're not just related to photography. Yes?
Just talk about.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of societal rules are kind of like broken the moment you're born, because like when you're born, like you have to be taught these rules of like don't speak, stay quiet, stay
Yeah.
still. Gender rules as well, where like you're kind of like, well, as you said earlier, like you're born being curious. Was that you who said that? Yeah, you're born like being curious, but curiosity I'd say goes against a lot of what rules in society kind of expect you, where you're born already just doing, like breaking rules, even though you're not even doing that on purpose, and going
Yeah.
what the rules are. You have to then, and the rules are kind of then made to like grow you to be in what the rule of a rule follower.
So we have these ideas of rules, or maybe we could say norms. It's interesting,
Yes.
you didn't even talk about laws, but
I
like
think
laws are
we'll
another
do
type
that,
of rules.
though, 'cause, I mean, laws, like, I'd say most people in this class have like probably broken in like some kind of law at some point, maybe a big one, maybe a small one, probably small
Not,
ones, but like,
not me.
not really.
You haven't jaywalked?
Nope, never. I've never
You've
broken
never
a law.
jaywalked.
I'm being filmed. I've never broken a law. I've never
Oh.
jaywalked. I always wait for the light. But okay, jaywalking, that might be a good one, right, to think about.
Jaywalking's one,
Yeah.
I think most people, my guess is like most people probably when they were like little have probably stolen something from
Yeah.
a store, or maybe on purpose or not. That's
Miss-
one.
Mr. Chips made a great point about jaywalking. Do you know who lobbied to have that law made? Yeah.
Guy Jay.
Big car.
Car companies, right?
Ah.
So actually, right, jaywalking, that's a rule that benefits drivers. And did you notice that any unmarked intersection, if there is somebody standing at that intersection, that a car has to stop for them?
Yeah, right
That
away.
you have to treat it as a stop sign. And so often cars don't follow that rule. Right? So I think it's right. So rules, they are weighted to one way.
Also there's like loitering, things around that.
Loitering, and what's the issue with loitering?
It doesn't like mainly target people of color.
Yeah, so we can see how rules, even if they are in theory fair, are used to exploit people of color, maybe houseless people,
Yeah.
especially that one. You mentioned rules are gendered, You also mentioned like there's norms for age, like traditionally children, they don't speak until they're spoken to, that sort of thing, right? So,
Yeah.
and maybe it's actually hard to break some of those rules. Maybe it's quite easy. All right, so back to photography. What rules do we like in photography? Yes.
I love the most aptly named rule of thirds. It's my favorite because it's
Yeah.
really easy. Even if you don't shoot something in a rule of thirds like grid, you could still crop it to be rule of thirds.
Ooh, that's right. Okay, so rule of thirds, that could be even an editing technique, not necessarily even how you're shooting something. Any other rules that we like? Atticus, is that what you were gonna say?
What? No. I was gonna say anything, but I don't really like many rules when it comes to making any form of art, because they can be good, like rule of thirds is good, it's useful, but a lot of them kind of just restrict things or bias you against something based on how it's made.
Right.
And art rules do nothing but restrict for almost no benefit. I mean, there are exceptions, but.
Right, okay, so usually we think about rules as constrictive instead of maybe like opening up potentials, yeah. Alex.
This is cropping again, but like, you didn't have like a full picture. You don't have to focus on that full picture. You can crop it down to like a really tiny actual picture. So really break down the
Yeah, so cropping, okay, that's great. Any other rules that we like in photography, yeah?
I like when my subject is in focus.
Yeah.
Personally. I like when most of the photo is in focus and everything, the details are all really sharp.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Right, so we like when, we like when our subject is in focus. Who here likes when the thing that is in focus is the thing that you should be taking a picture of? I kind of like that. I think that's kind of a good rule. So yeah, okay, rule of thirds. Who thinks they could explain it? Yeah.
Your composition is kind of broken up into this grid where you have like nine quadrants, I guess. And so you have it like split up into thirds vertically and then split up into thirds horizontally. And the rule is that you want your subject to be on one of the like edge thirds, not the middle one. And you want, if you're photographing a person, you want their eye level to be also like not on the to be in one of the places where the lines are intersecting.
So yeah, you're exactly right. The rule of thirds, if you were to divide it into 9 equally sized quadrants with 2 lines moving vertically and 2 horizontally, the rule of thirds would be such that your subject should perfectly bisect one of these 2 lines and their eyes. This one actually doesn't do a good job. It's actually not a good example. Usually you want the eyes to be right above that top line. Right above that top line. Okay. When should you always follow the rule of thirds for every single picture? No! This rule was meant to be broken. When should you follow it? When should you follow it? Yeah.
Like when you're taking like photos of people.
Yeah, maybe if you're taking photos of people, that's a really good one. Yeah, when should you follow it?
if there's other things to focus on, but your subject is still the subject. Like, for example, if somebody was looking out onto like a landscape, and obviously one picture that you will for the landscape is in white space.
Yeah. So rule of thirds, if you were to, and I'll turn this down a little bit. Rule of thirds, you're exactly right. You can use it to differentiate between your foreground and your background. Here, kind of a similar thing, right? If we have something over here and something over here, if we want to throw it deeper into the image, we can have that other thing on that other third line, and so we can use foreground and background. Just some more examples of rule of thirds. So I actually think rule of thirds. There's one time you should almost always use it, and that is yes.
Interviews.
Yeah, a documentary interview should almost always use it because look how weird it is when somebody talks to the camera. Right, just straight on to the camera. Does anybody know what filmmaker famously did use this technique. Errol Morris. He did kind of one of the first docudramas it was called The Thin Blue Line. And if you watch an Errol Morris movie, people talk directly to the camera, and that was he actually invented this device where he would be in another room and his face would appear on a TV screen and the camera would be behind it. And so they would be talking to his face on a TV screen. So they would think they'd be talking right to a camera, but actually, or they think they'd be talking to a person, but they were being interviewed. A pretty weird effect. So apart from Errol Morris, I don't know who else has broken this rule. Yeah.
I feel like they kind of do that.